I had a shocking experience recently and I want to tell you about it. I thought I had my calotype technique pretty well dialed in until I printed this image and I came up with this monstrosity. As you can see, the contrast is way too high and the light tones are blown out. I couldn't think what I'd done wrong. Then I remembered that I'd accidentally knocked over the bottle of ammonium dichromate when I mixed the sensitizing solution. I gave the bottle a shake before using it. For calotypes, we add a single drop of dichromate to add contrast to the image. I concluded that the dichromate had settled in the bottle when I made previous prints, and that told me I'd have to shake it up each time or else I'd sometimes get a weaker or stronger solution, and that meant I had to remake my digital negative curve. If you haven't seen my video on making a digital negative, you should do so now or what follows won't make any sense to you. If you have seen the video, keep watching. I've modified my technique to make it more accurate and easier to understand. I already knew my exposure time, so I didn't need to do that step. I printed the ChartThrob chart and made a print. ChartThrob gave me this curve. As I did in the previous video, I simplified it and used it on a sample image. I called it Citrate 2A. The image doesn't look too bad. Contrast is good, but it's too light overall. I just need to darken it and I'll be there. You don't need to scan your sample print, just examine it closely. On the print, this area has the brightest tone before pure white. I want to darken the print until this area is that same tone. Likewise, this area has the darkest textured shadow above true black. I want this area to be that dark. I opened the image and made a curves adjustment layer with Citrate 2A. I zoomed in and read the textured highlight, 233. The brightest part of the garlic reads 248, so I need to reduce its brightness to 233. The dark shadow reads 81, and the background between the cabbages is 141. I'll need to darken that part of the curve quite a bit. Now that I know my numbers, it's time to change the curve. Here's where I changed my technique. Instead of a curves adjustment layer, I used the curves command. It has several advantages over an adjustment layer. First, its palette is bigger so you can see what you're doing. Unlike an adjustment layer, you can click in the image and see a circle to tell you where you are on the curve. If you command click the image or control click on a PC, it puts an adjustment point on the curve. In the curves dialog box, click once to select a control point and either drag it or use the arrow keys to move it around. Hold shift while you click an arrow key to nudge the point 10 times as far. None of those functions is available in an adjustment layer. With the curves dialog open, I clicked the brightest part of the garlic and found it's almost exactly at the end of the curve. That's the point I need to move. I make sure the info palette is open and single click the curve point to select it. I watch the info palette and count my arrow clicks as I bring the end of the curve down to 233, 16 clicks of the down arrow. I want to keep the slope of the curve the same, so I click each curve point in turn and bring it down 16 clicks. I click the background area and find it's between two curve points. I command click the background and it makes a new point. That's a control click on the PC. Once again, I watch the info palette as I move the point down until it's at 81. The shadows look posterized because the curve is distorted at that point. I just move the nearby points down to smooth out the curve. I check my shadow and highlight points and I have to adjust them a bit. I save that curve as Citrate 2B and make another print. This one looks perfect. I go back to the image I botched before and make this print. Here it is compared to the original image. The lessons to take from this are shake your dichromate and use the curves command.